one of us. There's two of us. And there's three of us. We've got the whole council in session. And I remembered to press go live.
I sense a disturbance in the force.
Yeah, we're a couple of minutes early.
Sorry, I got that. Stop making stupid noises with it now. But I've got a tale to tell about this though. I was quite proud of myself earlier with this. Why didn't you tell people why I'm doing that in the first place? Because if they haven't read the title, they're going to be very confused.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah. Okay, go on, then you tell them.
Well, apparently, this evening we'll be talking about Ahsoka, the recent Disney Jedi series, and recent news. Fortunately, I have watched the first 2 episodes.
Oh, you haven't watched the third, then?
No. That's why I've just said I've watched the first 2.
Right, I will try to avoid spoilers, then.
Spoilers?
Yes, I'll try to avoid spoilers.
What spoilers can you avoid? No, what happens.
Well,
do they fly around a bit and shake these around a bit?
Yes. Some of the most stupidest decisions made by military leaders ever are made in it.
And this surprises you in Star Wars because
the heroes find out what we found out last week. That's what happened.
You see, this is going to make it difficult to talk about if he hasn't seen episode 3.
Well, we'll talk about episodes 1 and 2.
Just spoil it if you need to spoil it. It's fine.
It's shit.
Okay, I'm spoiled.
Hello, Benjamin. Hello. It isn't shit.
There.
It isn't shit. It's far
this
from
is the channel you're looking for.
No, it is shit. It is. Think of Mary Poppins, yeah?
Okay.
You know, Mary when Leia does a Mary Poppins thing in space, yeah?
Okay, yes.
That, yeah?
Right, yeah.
Actually, no, no, without, right. Think about this, yeah?
Who's that talking Jar Jar Binks?
Right. You say, like, so picture yourself. Picture a Lancaster bomber, yeah? Right. Picture a Lancaster bomber. You've got a sword, and you stand on the wing, and you try to deflect bullets that are shot at you. It's like, right, okay.
Yeah.
It ain't going to happen. And B, so, like, the people that are shooting at you, why are they shooting at you? Why don't they just shoot at the plane?
Are they on the wing as well, or are they shooting at you from the ground, aiming at the wing?
No. Ahsoka puts a spacesuit on, goes and stands outside on the spaceship and deflects laser blasts with a laser sword.
It's a light
from 2 ships. 2 ships are attacking her. Sorry, 2 ships. Well, there were 4, but the red shirts get killed off.
Obviously.
There were
then
6.
The 2 remaining, they are firing at the ship. So she stands out on the wing, if you will, with a lightsaber doing all this. And the 2 people in the other spaceships are firing at her. And it's like, why don't they just keep shooting the ship? The shields are down. It's dead in the water.
And she's in a spacesuit in space.
Yeah.
Could she not just force the 2 ships together in a big fireball in space?
Maybe. That could have been an option. What else could have been an option is the spaceships that are attacking just sort of like park up, sort of like, and then just fire stationary, keep firing.
Lightsabers not known for their ranged weaponry impact.
Yeah, it's sort of like, oh, you know, so it's just like, just no.
Okay.
Just no.
It's a live-action cartoon.
Well, it is, and that's This is the funny thing about it because the only piece of Rebels merchandise I really have is this, and as you can see, it's still sealed and mint in its cellophane because my son had basically 0 interest. He's never really got into Star Wars, so this was my attempt to sort of get him into Rebels. And in fairness, I didn't think much of it when it started, but I think I came back to it at some point when it was being repeated and when the storyline had actually moved on to become a storyline. And that was when I sort of reconnected with it. And so I'm reasonably up on the backstory to this series, which is obviously useful.
Yes,
I think if you hadn't seen Rebels, a lot of it would probably be falling deeply, deeply flat. I quite like it because I understand what they're doing with it. And in fact, I'm almost surprised they didn't do this series first.
It kind of. I wouldn't. It kind of proceeds from the point of view that it's expecting you to have seen Rebels, or at least some of it, or know something of it. I think if you went in dry, you'd be kind of. You'd be like, well, what's happening? What's this? There's not much exposition. I watched a video today. I don't know who did it while I was painting, and they made a good point. They said that maybe what would have been better is episode 1, or let's say at least 15, 20 minutes of episode 1 could have been live action reimagining of highlights from the end of Rebels season 3. So, maybe not season 3. So you saw Kanan getting killed defending the crew. You maybe saw Ahsoka with Vader before Ezra pulled her out through World Between Worlds. Just giving like little tasters.
But that's the other thing is that Ahsoka's history is properly generational. So actually, to introduce her as a character and understand her backstory, that's a hell of an ask.
Yeah,
because that was how many episodes of Clone Wars?
You don't need to, because the series isn't about her.
No, it's not.
It's got her name on it, but it's not about her. It's got nothing to do with her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And plus, the thing is as well, they're still calling her a Jedi. She's not a Jedi.
This did puzzle me because I thought she was now a sort of non-affiliated Force user.
Well, because it says it's like, because I think in one of is it like the opening text or something? It says something like,
"Who's Brian?
Former Jedi Knight," and it's like she was never a Jedi Knight. She never graduated.
That's also very true. That's also
it should have been former Padawan, Jedi Padawan.
Yeah.
But there is a hell of a lot wrong with it.
Well, the Jedi aspect of it, I get that. I don't have an issue with that whatsoever.
But she's not a Jedi.
To general public, whether you're a Padawan, a Knight, a Master, a Grandmaster, to the general public, you're a Jedi.
Yeah. If you've got the glowing...
I don't take issue with that whatsoever.
No.
As far as man on the street, on Naboo, on Tatooine, or anywhere else, as far as they're concerned, she's a Jedi. She's not a normal person like them. She trained as a Jedi. She may not have taken the exams and passed the test, but she's a Jedi.
Right. Okay. Well then, abbreviate it to the former Jedi rather than former Jedi Knight, which she never was.
And she has actually taken on someone as well to train in the ways of the Jedi, which I find absolutely balmy and weird who it is she's taken on, but she has done.
And in fact, she'd already taken her on. She's taken her back on.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they had a lesbian falling out or something. I think there's a bit of sexual tension there.
But she wouldn't train Grogu already. Brilliant.
She wouldn't train Grogu, but she'll train Sabine. Is it because he's green? Is Ahsoka racist? I think we should be asking these questions.
Or is it speciesist?
Yeah, speciesist. Is it because
xenophobic?
Is it the ears? No, I don't. The only thing, and again, I watched another video. I've just had my phone on random YouTube play today, and another one made a comment. It's like, Disney or Filoni or whatever overcompensating with Sabine Wren for Rey. So basically trying to make Sabine a Jedi, starting with no powers or anything like that, showing us it's like maybe a progression or a struggle, and kind of like compensating for the fact that it was like, here's Rey, she's super special, bang, there you go, kind of thing.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know if it is, but it was just an interesting point. I thought, is there any mileage in it?
Well, the droid was hilariously sort of basically, you're a rubbish Jedi. You're the rubbishest Jedi I've ever seen. But all right, then carry on. Have a lightsaber back,
Yeah.
So that was kind of interesting. So she's clearly not particularly Force sensitive.
No.
Maybe she'll encounter something in the course of this series that will make her incredibly force sensitive, or just turn her into a Mandalorian instead. I don't know. But yeah, that's an interesting one. I mean, I don't know quite where they're going with it all, apart from obviously trying to bring a new big bad in, and presumably he would, because we're post Return of the Jedi at this point.
Mm.
So a New Republic, and before was it First Order they were called in the new films?
Yeah. Well, this Ahsoka series is set in between season 2 and 3 of Mandalorian.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's when it's set. It's set in between the 2 seasons.
Oh yes, because Dudar was talking about Thrawn, wasn't he?
Mm.
Yeah, that's right. And it makes sense as well because they've encountered her, and she was in prison to start with, so that was
yeah.
Mm. Interesting that they gave her sort of witchy powers.
Oh yeah, she's just one of the sisters of Dathomir now.
Yes,
the Night Sisters.
Yeah, that's it. Like, all right, okay. Yeah. Thought they were all extinct.
I think she doesn't look very distant relation of them, isn't she? She's not. I don't think she's kind of pure as such, but
maybe she's cross. Maybe she's like she doesn't look very Dathomirian or whatever the pronunciation.
But then one would argue, shouldn't she have done better against Ahsoka in their little tete-a-tete with, if she is force sensitive herself? But
well, apparently she wasn't using her powers because she didn't want to give it away that she was a witch.
Right. So why not just go?
You've obviously read up on this, Ed, because you're talking about things I've got no idea of, and I've seen the same episodes you have.
No, I'm just making it up just for talking points.
All right, okay.
Just completely making it up, just pulling it out of a hat. There we go. No, I've just been watching a lot of breakdown videos. Like I say, while I've been painting today, I've just had it on random play, and I've just been going through. There's been a lot of breakdowns and stuff like that. It's all just theories and talking points that other commentators have postulated that may be possibilities. So who knows?
David Tennant's the droid, of course. I keep thinking that he's not. He's just a voice. He's doing the voice actory bit, isn't he? That does make perfect sense. That makes perfect sense now. Now is the I'm gonna forget her name now. She was in Scott Pilgrim. Winstead.
Yeah.
Is she the apprentice Darksider? She must.
No, Winstead's playing Hera, which is she's Mrs. Ewan McGregor.
Right. So who's the Darkside apprentice then?
Some autistic-looking kid.
Yeah, she's. I don't know who she is, but like I say, she's not.
That makes sense now, because that's why I was struggling to place her face. I couldn't quite make it work for Winstead, but that does make sense actually. That would be her with the green makeup and everything else. Obviously, it's hard to spot, isn't it? I found it hard to spot clearly.
She seems to be getting a hell of a lot of bad press in the public domain at the moment. People seem to be hating the performance of Hera.
Well, she's not really in it much, though, is she? I mean, she's not. She doesn't have a lot to do.
It's Ahsoka that I'm finding quite terrible.
Well, to be fair, none of them are acting. None of the characterizations are anything like what they are in the Rebels cartoon.
Which is funny, considering that Dave Filoni has literally written cartoon episodes.
I know, but unless they're being given particular direction to act in a particular way, the characterizations I don't think are anything like in the cartoon.
No, I mean the thing is we don't really know what Ahsoka's been up to or been through since whenever.
Sorry, hello Rolando.
And when did she get the white lightsabers? When did she become dual wielding? Because I think
she was always dual wielding.
Was she always dual wielding?
She was always dual wielding. She created white lightsabers when she left the Jedi Order.
When she left, right? Yeah. The last I saw of her, she had a duel with Darth Maul on Mandalore, I think, and then presumably I don't know if that was before or after she left the Jedi Order. must have been before she left it, presumably, because she had clones as backup, as I recall.
Yeah, that was. Was that the final series of the Clone Wars, the more recent one on Disney Plus?
Could be, yeah.
Which that was supposed to be filling in some gaps between the end of the previous Clone Wars series and into the fifth.
I can't remember if I've actually sat and really sat down and watched it, or if I've just seen sort of clips of that particular bit on YouTube, actually, because obviously it's quite a nice duel as duels go. So,
to be fair, you don't want to watch the whole series. That one, it's got some high points and very, very low points as that one.
Fair dues.
Ahsoka helping out two sisters somewhere is a little horrible.
So Benjamin was saying that Asajj was a Night sister as well. I mean, she's got a really long backstory as well, because she was in the was it Tartovsky Clone Wars series? So I remember when she was first introduced, that was really sort of interesting, because that was the first time. And they had a sort of a duel off, didn't they, for her to become Dooku's. Yeah, and then she went up against Anakin. Yeah, so that was really sort of really interesting, because she was around for quite a while in that series, actually.
Do you mean when she was first introduced, when she was sort of like in the gladiators pit?
When yes, that's right. When hilariously Yoda, no, that was Clone Wars. When Yoda disarmed her by virtue of just pulling her lightsabers out of her hands with the Force. Right. It was like, yeah. Fortunately, being a Jedi, she was then unable to attack him, so he didn't go for her. But he basically just pitched her lightsabers, which I thought was hilarious.
That animated series is absolutely amazing. It really is. Jumpy has helped out with your question of who the not-so-Sith acolyte is played by. I have no idea who that is.
None the wiser, but thank you.
Yeah.
I think she's doing all right with it, actually, in fairness to
her.
Yeah, okay. I thought so. The thing is, they're quite... This is the Disney universe. I think they're aiming this at the sort of slightly older than Rebels age typical viewing figure watcher. For me, it's quite softly done, if that makes sense. I think it's very much. I think it feels quite Disney, but it does feel quite nice in Star Wars as well, though. In fairness,
no lightsaber fatalities.
No, yet. Well, there has been one.
One. Yeah. The bloke in the first
quite a lot actually.
Yeah, he's the only bloke. He's the only person that's been killed by impaled by a lightsaber. But he doesn't have plot armor.
There were quite a lot of lightsaber deaths in that first episode.
Yeah, they went round and had a bit of a hacking, but I was just getting round to the point of the impaling lightsabers, the ineffectiveness of the shoddy materials and lackluster quality control of your lightsaber.
Well, the thing is, it does make sense, if you think about it. If you get a limb knocked off with one of these, even then, it's still instant cauterization. So you don't die from blood loss. You probably just go into shock. So as long as if you're doing it with the pointy bit, then actually it's not a huge wound. So if you don't get anything critical with it, then it figures that you could survive.
But just remember back in episode 1, what does a lightsaber do to a blast door?
Yeah.
And that's
when exposed to it for a long time, it goes melty, obviously, yes.
Yeah, but that's going through a person. It's just plot armor. You get impaled by a lightsaber, you die. Well, unless you're rocking the estrogen.
Oh.
Well, those are the only people that have survived, isn't it? Qui-Gon killed.
Survived getting chopped in half.
We see that's why it's even more ridiculous.
Technically, as well, Han Solo survived it. It was the impact. It was the impact that killed him.
Qui-Gon didn't, though.
No, Qui-Gon didn't.
Qui-Gon only seemed to get stabbed with one.
No, it's. I mean, to be fair, bringing Maul back were a bit silly. To be fair, because he were dead. They were lobbed in half, and he fell down a bloody reactor shaft. It's like, no, he's dead. But it's.
And then he got spider legs.
Yeah, to be fair, they shouldn't have killed him. If they wanted to bring him back, they shouldn't have killed him. But It is a good character, is Maul, but I don't think they should have brought him back.
Well, it wasn't a good character in Phantom Menace.
Pardon?
It wasn't a good character in Phantom Menace.
He was the only character in Phantom Menace.
They turned him into a good character after the Phantom Menace. But in the Phantom Menace, he was just a dog on a leash. And they let him off the leash.
He was the antagonist. Voiced by Peter Serafinowicz, who I've met.
That's right, yes.
True story. Yes.
Dare say there's going to be some kind of special edition done that, though, where they go over his voice with Sam Witwer.
Possibly. It's always a possibility.
And if they haven't done it already, then I'm very surprised.
So here's the random question of the night. What does this have to do with my lightsaber?
I don't know, but I bet it stings.
No? Anyone? No?
But I'm going to say that apparently Battlestar Galactica came out on 4K yesterday in a steelbook, and it's absolutely fabulous, darlings.
Be even more fabulous if I had a 4K disc drive / player.
And a 4K telly.
And a 4K telly.
I don't know if I have one of those, to be honest. I've no idea. I think it probably could handle it, actually, because it's relatively recent, but...
So apparently, Ivana Sakno, I don't know how you pronounce that name, it looks Japanese, and she certainly doesn't look Japanese. In fact, it looks half Russian, half Japanese, and I don't think she's either. Apparently, she was in Pacific Rim Uprising and The Spy Who Dumped Me.
Oh, was she the ridiculously talented young co-pilot of Gypsy Doodah, Hoojamaflip?
Could be. I've tried to erase Pacific Rim Uprising.
I know. I was just going to say that. Unfortunately, my brain has dumped most of my knowledge of that particular film. I still love the
Considering how good that first one was.
I know. It was so good. It was so good. It's like Mecha Godzilla for like an hour and a half.
So, she's Ukrainian. Of course, there's no way they would employ a Russian right now, is there? Yeah.
So
that makes perfect sense.
I don't know. You rub your lightsaber on your fish and chips.
No, but what this is, of course, is acidic.
Oh, I get it.
He's got it.
I've got it. You played with your lightsaber that much that you got vinegar strokes at the.
We'll just leave him in the corner over there for a minute. So basically, the battery compartment of the lightsaber had suffered some leakage. And a long time ago, I was told that you can use vinegar to dissolve the alkali leakage from batteries to clean up contacts. So for the first time ever, I gave it a crack. Lo and behold, it bubbled away on the white gunky stuff, removed it, and my batteries now work. So although it's mainly just sound, I think the bulb's a little bit dubious, but it did return it to life. So next up will be a video showing me trying to use this on an ancient Thunderbird 2's battery compartment that's decidedly nasty looking. But if it worked on this, it'll probably work on other stuff as well. So I'm quite hopeful.
I wash up every day, multiple times. The straws do get washed. Bless you. But now I'm going to try putting some vinegar down it.
Yes, don't try drinking it. I found a friend at school who did that. He was wrong.
Oh, I quite like vinegar. I have drunk it before. In fact, on a dare, I put some in a cup of tea once and drunk that after it had all curdled.
Nice.
Not very.
Not really.
Not very. But I was dared to do it, and I was stupid enough to follow up on the dare.
Oh, well. You survived.
I'm still here.
You lived to tell the tale, yes. Which is the main thing.
And everything worked because I had children not long afterwards. So. Just buy contact cleaner. I used tin foil once to fix contacts, says Jumpy.
Yeah, I know that's a thing, but given that this was in the cupboard, I thought I'd just give it a crack, basically, because I thought it'd be given that I randomly got. I just noticed 2 days ago that we were talking about Ahsoka. I thought, right, funnily enough, I know where I've got a lightsaber, so I'll go and see if I can clean it up, and then I can tell people if it worked or not when I get on stream. So I've done it now. That was my educational show and tell for the evening.
Well, before we move off from Ahsoka, I'm gonna tell you what I'm hoping it's not too much of a spoiler for you since you haven't seen it. But having everything happened in the first 2 episodes, so that they've got evidence that the Empire has agents working for them. They've had hunter-killer droids sent out. We've had an assassination attempt on what they're calling a Jedi Knight, Eddie.
Mm-hmm.
and whatever else. And they've got video footage of the Imperial agents stealing a hyperdrive car. And they know that there's a tracking beacon on it now. The Republic High Command, or the senators, decide that there's not enough evidence really to be sending any generals out to check out what might be going on, which is why Ahsoka and Sabine have to go on their own.
Of course they do.
Yeah, because what kind of decision making is that? I mean, you want to talk about bad writing? That's the bad writing. That's bad writing there.
What, that as well as sort of like droids blowing themselves up when they've been sent to specifically get an artifact, or an artifact that's buried in a ancient temple, and it's like, well, why have you buried it there in the first place?
Well, it's buried. It's been buried for thousands of years, but it points to where Thrawn disappeared to 10 years ago.
But how do they know? How do they know that is buried there and that it points to him?
Elbeth Morgan, or Morgan Elbeth, whichever way around her name is, she said so.
Right.
And she's been in holy communion with Thrawn in another galaxy, apparently.
It's just bad writing start to end.
It is bad writing, and the fact that it's Dave Filoni that's wrote every episode, that should be a wake-up call to everyone that said that he should be running Lucasfilm.
But, no, I agree, but how much control does Dave Filoni have on that?
He wasn't writing on the second episode, though. I think he actually he produced it.
He directed it with somebody else. But he's credited as writing all the episodes.
Yeah, he's written all of them. Yeah, he's written all of them. He's not directed all, but he's written them.
Yeah, maybe it's the other way around. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I don't think that Dave Filoni would have done an Ahsoka series if he didn't have a good deal of control over it. I think that he would have pushed for something else instead.
But to be fair, though, I mean, he's still under the employ. So
yeah, he's under the employ, yeah. But I don't
so it's
think
a case of, yes, you can write your Ahsoka series, but you have to do A, B, C, and D. And he'll be like, maybe that's the trade-off.
You have to write badly.
Well,
you have to have your stories make no sense.
I don't know. I just personally feel that there's been interference in his script writing process.
See, I don't. Well, because it reeks so much of the Clone Wars and of Rebels that to me it's him staying true to form.
I don't know, because I mean, I'm skeptical on that because, like I say, having seen some at Clone Wars and having seen all Rebels and stuff, it's better than what this is.
Well, all of Clone Wars, it was, apart from that last Disney series, which was terrible. All the rest of it was under direct tutelage of George Lucas anyway. It weren't like George Lucas said, right, this is what I want you to do. You go do it. I'm off to sit on my chair now and count my money. George Lucas kept his hand in and he kept control over it. Then you get Rebels, which was all him.
But that's what I'm saying. The Rebels cartoon, I think, is better than what this is.
I think it's on par. I think a lot of people give Rebels a hell of a lot of praise, but I've seen a hell of a lot better cartoons out there. I don't think Rebels is amazing. In fact, first series, I wouldn't have tuned into series 2.
No, I think that's the thing. I don't think they developed the heavier plot lines in the first season. I think perhaps they were testing the ground with the first season to see if it would sort of gain traction.
And in fact, even beyond Rebels, Bad Batch.
Mm.
I actually don't watch that anymore. I watched the first series. And I think the first episode of the second, and I've never watched another episode.
You can have too much.
Yeah. But to be fair, I mean, these are cartoons that are aimed at kids. We're not the primary target for these cartoons. So the fact that we're watching them, and judging or commentating on them, we're not the key audience for them.
What I'm saying is that the same guy who did them is the same guy who's doing Ahsoka, and it's the same thing. I don't see a difference in it. Ahsoka doing somersaults on the outside of a spaceship whilst wearing a spacesuit and everything. That's straight out of a cartoon. It's straight out of one of the episodes of Clone Wars.
Look, I don't think I've ever actually seen a Star Wars spacesuit before.
Clone Wars.
Well, the thing is, though, all the
clones are very similar to the ones they use in Clone Wars.
Well, I was going to say, but the thing is, all the clones are in armor anyway, so they presumably have sort of self-contained. I do remember that the Jedi had breathers on sometimes, but again, that's not a proper environmental suit. That's just a breather. So it's kind of
no. The Jedi, when they went outside the spaceship, had full-on spacesuits.
Oh, right. I don't think I remember that at all. Anyway. But what was I going to say? Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to change the opening crawl, though, aren't they? Clearly. Not that they haven't already, of course, but it'll have to be in another galaxy even further away. Because judging by the map that was in the end of the second episode, isn't it in another galaxy? That was the quote, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, to be fair, it is very forgettable, but the main point I have is it's the characterization in the fact that
that's the spacesuits that they wear in.
Oh, right, okay. I have no memory of that.
And it's essentially a blue one of those that she wears in Ahsoka.
Right.
I just feel that the characterization of the characters in this Ahsoka series is different to the cartoon. I mean, Sabine, so far in this TV show, is just acting like an emo. She's just like, a bit, which is completely different to her characterization in the cartoon. Hera in the cartoon was more nurturing, more motherly, kind of like that, kind of like overseeing, caring kind of figure, where in this she's kind of like just morose, it's just like.
But she must be but presumably she must be a lot older now, because the others didn't time jump like Ahsoka did. So, hang on. Did Ahsoka dump the Rebels, didn't she?
Sabine's about 30 at this point, and she's acting like a rebellious teenager.
She's 30.
Well, if you think about it, because we've gone from before A New Hope, haven't we?
Rebels was supposed to start around about 5 years before A New Hope.
Yeah, so it has been quite a span. But then we don't know how long they live for, I guess.
And then this is about 5, 6 years after A New Hope. So it's, she's about 30 at this point.
Well,
assuming time works the same way, of course.
Yeah.
Gap wants to trade me some Darth Vader apple cider for some figures. I said no. No.
No, thank you.
Does anybody feel The Mandalorian on DVD is worth purchasing? No, not on DVD, but it's Blu-ray that they're bringing it out on. I believe it's 4K. Is it 4K and Blu-ray, or is it Blu-ray and DVD?
No.
But it's only coming out as a steelbook, and only seasons 1 and 2. And because of that, I will be buying it.
Now, tell me something, gentlemen, because you'll be more up on this than I am. Is 4K now a sort of de facto bottom rung standard for
No.
digital stuff. Because the reason I say that is because I've got the Babylon 5 thing, and I have a Blu-ray drive in my PC because I was anticipating being able to at least grab screenshots off stuff, but I can't because it's Blu-ray and they've kind of locked it down. The DVDs they clearly don't give a stuff about because I can do whatever I like with DVDs. It's no problem at all. But the Blu-rays are clearly still, quite heavily protected. It would seem, unless presumably you've got one of these capture device Hujima flips, which I haven't looked at. But have we sort of gone beyond that even now? Are we into just sort of 4K as standard because we've gone digital and the discs don't matter anymore? I mean, what's the current crack, do you think?
No, and I say that because that most people can't even get 4K through streaming.
Right, yes.
Because most connections, not all, there's some really good connections out there, but most won't go as far as 4K. So you'll get 1080p, 1080i, whichever's the best of those two. You might get slightly better, but you'll not get true 4K from most streaming just yet. Even though a lot of the streamers will charge you extra for 4K.
Yeah, because when I tried your last stream, it would look really odd, and I realized that YouTube had defaulted to like 360p, which was clearly not very helpful. But then I had an option to go up to like 2000 odd p or whatever. So clearly, whatever you were recording it on was capable of a lot more. Whereas, I think my phone only really does HD by standard. That thing, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just wonder what's considered kind of a decent sort of entry level, if you like, for HD these days, because obviously, as you say, I suppose it does rather depend on your connection speed still as to whether or not you could actually get full whack out of it. But yeah, interesting.
But I think the standards mostly is still Blu-ray. We were looking in which is it now? Curry's PC World? Is it them two that have shot? Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
We were looking there last week. I saw a very nice TV. I won't be buying it. It was only £7,995.
That would be a very nice TV. Yeah. Yes. Would it be one that you can sort of jump into?
98 inches.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had one of. I've got a 65, and they had one of those beside it, and I was just like, "Oh, look at that little tiny thing!" Oh.
Well, I mean, it is crazy. I mean, sometimes I'm just driving and I sort of catch a glimpse of this sort of like wall of moving pictures in people's living rooms. Like, oh my god, it's like, is that, do you actually need that, or is that just bragging rights? No. It's just really.
I will be honest. I stood there drooling over it for a good 10 minutes.
Maybe these TVs are the new like phallic symbol. They've replaced sports cars.
Possibly, yeah. Yeah, sports cars have become too expensive for people now, but TVs are still within that same kind of reach.
I don't know. I don't know. I think you'd have to be mentally ill to spend $7,000 on a TV.
I think you've got to be mentally ill to spend 150 grand on a sports car, but there we go.
Well, let's see how much you get for your TV when you sell it second hand.
You'd probably take a similar percentage drop as you would on a sports car.
I don't think so. I don't know.
I know a lot of people that have bought second-hand sports cars.
Yeah, well, if you're equating a 98-inch TV at $7,000 to just a box standard sports car, I think something like that you probably have to equate something like a Ferrari or a Maserati or an Aston Martin. If a $7,000 TV 98 inches like the pinnacle, the top.
I don't think that is the pinnacle.
Well, it was probably the pinnacle and the top, but whatever, fuck it.
No, if you're able to buy that off the shelf in a local store, it is not the pinnacle.
Right, maybe not.
There's going to be a lot of stuff far better and far more expensive than that.
Yep, there probably is, yeah. But then again, I'll just say what I always say when these things come up. Whatever you're watching is only as good as what these are. So it doesn't matter if it's 4K. if your eyes are, if like us, all us lot will wear glasses, so we're not going to get benefit because we ain't got good 20/20 vision.
I thought the glasses were supposed to make it 20/20 vision.
Nah, it's in balls.
Oh, fair enough.
But I have to say, I mean, I remember when I sat with my son watching Mandalorian for the first time. I mean, the picture quality on that was just, I mean, maybe it was the first time being ancient, that I'd looked at something that was kind of brand newly made for that sort of resolution. I was like, oh.
2 minutes.
Okay.
That did look really, really impressive on in HD on a modern screen off a decent sort of streaming source. It was good. It was, I mean, that's where we notice the difference, I think, to my mind, is it even with stuff that's been uplifted from the original source, at the end of the day, if it was done in standard definition, it's only going to go up so far, isn't it? Best will in the world, So every little blip you're actually going to see in like full Technicolor HD glory, and it's like, that was a big scratch on that particular negative, wasn't it? And it's like, of course, now that's not a thing, so it's different.
That said, though, a lot of things that are filmed on old film are better than digital.
Oh, if they've been looked after well, yeah, I don't doubt, because they'll scale.
Which is why a lot of the old films that they do restore, and they restore properly, can look better in 4K than what a lot of the new digital stuff can.
I think that A New Hope did, because for a long time I was picking up these weird sort of, it might have been my TV or whatever, and just not coping with it very well, but I used to see a lot of sort of coloration artifacts, like a sort of, how do I describe it? Like a sort of multi-layered halo effect around things. I don't know if it was that the TV wasn't displaying enough colors or something. I don't know what it was, but I did used to notice that. I don't seem to notice that now. But there was a time, I think, when it was trying to moving from one thing to another where it just didn't seem to be quite keeping up for whatever reason. So I don't know quite what the crack was with that. But yeah.
Okay, I'm going to catch up on some of the chat while Ed stepped out. Worst animated Star Wars is Resistance.
I've not touched that with a barge pole, actually, purely because I think it just passed me by.
Yeah, I managed a couple of episodes. It's certainly not great.
It just seemed to have a lot of droids and stuff from what a little of it I'd seen, which I just thought, merchandise.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Although there wasn't much.
No, well, I don't know, but yeah.
Knowing what happens, and if I didn't have Disney Plus, I would buy season 1. That's to Gap, regarding what we were just talking about, the Mandalorian DVDs. Thanks, John, because I've never seen. If you've not seen any of the new Star Wars stuff,
define new.
Yeah.
Disney Plus stuff, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I would say that it's well worth watching the first 2 series of The Mandalorian.
Yeah, it's a quality show.
It is really,
even if you're
really
not into Star Wars, I think it holds up. It's it's a spaghetti western in space.
Yeah,
is how I think of it.
If they're sold individual seasons, buy season 1. If you like it, get season 2. But personally, I'd leave it. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. Although, if you're going to get season 1, I'd get season 2 anyway. Cause they're only doing the 2, and they're supposedly going to be a limited edition release. So it could be a case if you buy season 1, you like it, go to buy season 2, it's gone. Oh, there we go. There we go. We've got thumbs up. Come on, Gareth. We know you bought My Little Pony for 2K. Did I? I didn't spend 2K on a My Little Pony. Each to their own. People would question why we pay hundreds sometimes for toy. Yeah, definitely.
Of course.
300 quid for a hot toy. And I've been there and done that. What happened to it? He stepped out. He's nicked to the loo, possibly. I'm not sure. I'm assuming he'll be back. He said 2 minutes. It's been more. I'm sure he'll be back. Hello, Lobot. How you doing?
Ew.
We've got welcomes to Lobots. And then I've never seen any movie past
episodes.
I've not seen any of the Disney shows.
Have
you not seen Rogue One?
Oh, gotta see Rogue One.
Yeah, see Rogue One.
Oh, so good.
Rogue. Am I getting? Is anyone else getting a bit of an echo? I seem to be getting an echo.
No, well, I'm not personally, but
I keep moving my mic around because I keep hearing this echo. I'm sure I'm getting some kind of feedback somewhere. Yeah, if you haven't seen Rogue One, yes, he has seen Rogue One. There we go.
Yeah.
He's seen Rogue One and he liked it. If you like Rogue One, watch Andor.
Yeah, I was just trying to think of Andor's name, and it just come to me. Yeah, Andor was really good as well. Andor's like Blake 7.
Yeah, it's one of those series where even if you don't like Star Wars, you stand a good chance of watching Andor. The nearest series that I can equate it to is the modern Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, that's fair.
Not every episode has a lot happening. There's some really slow episodes, and a lot of people complained that it was a slow burn, but it's solid. I found it quite solid. So yeah, probably give Andor a try. Watch Mando season 1 and 2. You can avoid animated stuff.
I like the Star Trek Visions series.
Oh, Star Wars Visions, yes, that's quite good.
Yeah,
it's a bit like What If.
Yeah,
like Marvel's What If, but for Star Wars. So none of it's canon, but it's all fun. The first episode's amazing. So Rogue One is a defo if you've not seen it. Mando and Andor, I think, is what Jumpy's trying to say there. Yes. Yeah. So there we go. It's funny because Andor still gets a lot of bad press. A lot of people still don't like Andor.
It wouldn't be everyone's cup of tea.
No, I can see that.
Because it isn't explicitly lightsabery Star Wars.
Yeah. It's there's no lightsabers.
No, it's quality. And the thing is, it's one of these things. It's like everything else, isn't it? You know, if you're into it and you're desperately trying to follow all of it, all of a sudden it's become really, really hard to watch everything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I often think about this these days because in our day, my day, your day, probably as well, you probably could watch pretty much all the major things that were being produced that were in sort of science fiction scope. Because there wasn't that much of it. There were only a limited number of channels and a limited number of films. Now we've got multiple channels for films, similarly for multiple series. And it's like, literally, I personally don't find that I've got enough time to try and keep up with everything that I might like to, because, you know, there's other stuff to do as well. And there's just so much produced now. It's really hard to keep up, I think.
Okay. Jumpy also says Bad Batch season 1 was good. I've got to differ with you on that one. I really didn't like it. But, you know, if you did, brilliant. Good for you.
I think the thing with the animated shows is that, as Ed was saying before, you know, they are aimed at a very different generation now. So although there's shooty guns and stuff, it's not like it's gratuitously anime-esque violence going on. It's for a youngish American audience, largely, probably. And I think they do the best to keep it in universe and everything else. I mean, I do think some of the settings are really, really impressively done. I mean, you know, creatively, they're still very, very, very interesting shows to watch. It's just that the plots can be a little bit sort of trite, if that's the right word for it. And once you've seen what the characters are likely to do based on what the action figures they need to sell off the back of it are going to do, then it's kind of... It does become more of the same a bit more rapidly, because in fairness, we've seen it before. We've seen Clone Wars. We know about the clones. We get it. Let's try and do something else now. But the problem is they've got these established timelines and places where they can slot stuff. And if they have got a big Bible that they're desperate to, and they've got to remember here as well, I mean, they've done remarkably well when you consider they started off with 3 films, possibly 9, arguably. And then they've managed to sort of blow that universe up and keep it moving and go off different tangents and all the rest of it. That's no mean ask, but it does mean that, you know, sometimes things can get a little bit threadbare. Because they're stretching it as far as they possibly can to keep it going. And, you know,
you're talking to someone here who read many dozens of full-length novels and then comics and graphic novels on top of that. So, yeah, it's I'm aware that they can go off on lots of different routes, and not all of them are going to be great. But I think since Disney took over it, we've been short on things that are great. I think Rogue One's possibly up there, and Andor maybe is a little bit too divisive to say that that's up there. Mando's probably the closest you're going to get to it, I think, maybe.
I mean, if fair dues to Mandalorian in this day and age, that was something of a phenomenon.
Yeah,
because lots and lots of people were talking about it, which is no mean feat in this day and age. Especially for a streaming service. That meant, I mean, how many new subs did they manage to get off the back of that being on Disney Plus?
Well, we're never going to know, are we? Because literally they built Disney Plus on the strength of it having its own Star Wars series. Yeah, so we're never going to know. It looks like Ed disappeared so that he could start sporting his latest merch.
No, I've put it on because I'm fucking cold.
Yeah, my heating hasn't kicked in yet, but it's thinking about it these days. I think definitely.
Gap thought you got stuck in the toilet with no paper.
No, I went to let the dog out, and then the wife and kids phoned. So
of course, yeah, they're away at the moment.
They are, yes. So I had a chat with them.
It became a bit repetitive into series 2, and I stopped watching halfway. I'm guessing that you're talking about Bad Batch there.
He is.
It weren't the repetitive. Well, I suppose it was the repetitiveness, but it was the fact that it was repeating the Clone Wars that I didn't like.
Well, the thing is, it's more like go on mission, successfully complete mission, return from mission, kids learn something from the mission, repeat.
Yeah, but the kids seem
to be fair,
episode.
That could describe all Disney Star Wars at the minute. The TV shows, because it's like gaming storylines.
I bought all the Black Series Bad Batch figures, so I felt obliged to watch it. I like it.
What have I missed? I'm just catching up on some comments.
Just discussing the state of the Disney Star Wars universe.
Was saying that he's not seen any Disney Star Wars stuff past episode 7. And we were saying that you need to watch Rogue One, but it turns out he's actually seen that.
Yeah,
and he did like it.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I'm not.
What else he should watch?
Right.
I think we all kind of agreed that it was just Mando series 1 and 2,
right?
And Andor. And he's probably okay without the rest.
You see, I don't rate Andor much. It's all right. It's not. I don't think it's as good as what it's being made out to be. But then again, I mean, it's like.
See, everything I see, Andor's terrible. Everyone seems to hate Andor, and I'm like, really? Okay.
but again, you see, it very much comes down to what taste and what you expect. Because for me, it was kind of a bit Blake 70. It was a little bit dark, a little bit grungy, not what you might expect, which I don't dislike as conceptually, because it was kind of defying what you would expect a Disney show to be like.
It is an interesting
without doing it in a daft way, which I thought was fine, Because in fact, if anything, it's demonstrating the fact that actually, the rebels had to play dirty. And indeed, as dirty as the Empire at times, in order to battle the Empire. So it's quite interesting because you would kind of assume there'd be goody tissues, but they're not.
It's not. It's just a bit bland for my taste. I just find it a bit bland. I get the story aspect of it, and I get the kind of like the thing out of it, but it just feels a bit bland. I think it could be a bit more. Maybe it's the characters in it. I don't know. I mean, that I can't even bloody remember his name. That Skarsgård's character.
Yeah,
he's an interesting character. I'd like to see more of him. But maybe it's just Andor. I mean, I liked Andor's character in Rogue One, but it's just like I just don't find him really that interesting in this.
Yes, I mean, there could be an argument to be made it's a series for the sake of making a series about him because he proved to be popular. Did you have that in mind originally? Probably not so much. But again, when I was talking to Gareth about that as a concept. It's kind of this idea that they've got to take things and stretch them to make the content, because it had quite a narrow band start.
Well, that would be a point I would make. The way I feel about Disney Star Wars TV output at the moment is it just feels like content made for the sake of it. It doesn't feel like they're making something because they're passionate about it or they want to tell a good story. It just feels like that they're just churning content out to bolster the streaming service, which I might add, I've not watched any of these TV series on the Disney Plus app. I've gone to the high seas to watch them because I don't want to give Disney the viewing figures for it. So I've gone to the high seas to watch them. I've watched other stuff on Disney Plus, but it's like, it's just, if they're good, I'll then go back and watch them on Disney Plus.
What made me smile about Disney Plus was when I first started seeing things like Aliens and Predator on there, and I was like, "But you're Disney?" It's like, what the hell? Exactly. Who have you not bought, and why are you now showing me this on Disney? I'm not complaining, because I rather like the Predator films as a series and all the rest of it. Great, and that means a lot of stuff that I do like is actually on one streaming service, apart from Star Trek. But a lot of it is actually there, so that's quite pleasant in the sense that I don't have to go bouncing around trying to find the bloody film I want to watch. But by the same token, it's like, that's just weird, because they've obviously just accumulated so many different networks and stuff now that they can show any number of different stuff in the same place. So, fair dues to them, though. It was forward thinking at the time, I think.
But I mean, that's the other thing as well. I mean, I don't think Disney should have been allowed to purchase Fox, because they're getting a monopoly. It's like,
it's interesting.
It's too much. You need. I mean, at the moment, who have you got really? It's going to be like what? It's maybe Warner Brothers and Disney. Is it? They're like the really two we play. Universal, maybe.
Paramount.
Netflix, Prime, Paramount.
No, I mean, I'm talking about the big hitting studios that are, I wouldn't call Paramount a big hitter of a studio at the moment. I mean, so, that can still churn out blockbusters, make the big books, movies and things like that, But, I think Disney's just, it's saturated the market by buying too much and owning too much franchises. And there's no competition there to kind of keep them on edge, keep them a bit honest, and sort of like seek to put out.
Is that Disney's fault, or is that the other studio's fault for not creating something?
I think Disney are to blame in the fact that they're going around purchasing everything and buying everything, but I also think that the system, in some respect, is a bit at fault for allowing them, because there are rules and regulations and laws in place to stop monopolies.
Well, that's actually a very, very interesting one, because intellectual property is a monopoly right.
Yeah,
that's the whole point of it. So they're actually encouraging you to create stuff to then have a monopoly right in it, because otherwise you wouldn't create it. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And as you say, the interesting thing about that is I honestly don't know whether things like sort of Monopolies and Mergers Commission has a say in, simply the number of intellectual property titles that you have access to exclusively, because they probably do still sub-license them to other people to show. So they don't actually have an out-and-out monopoly as such. But what they are doing at any given point in time is probably having a very stable stock that will always be available on Disney, even if other people can show it from time to time. That they've got the core constant rights to be giving that to you. And that's maybe what the difference is there. They've got this core library that is going to remain static. I mean, it's still one of the reasons why I'm quite grateful for having a disc, because it means I don't have to guess which network has got it at this particular point in time. I can just stick it in the player, So, yeah.
I suppose the other benefit of having a physical media as well, like a disc or, whether it's a Blu-ray, DVD or what, is you're guaranteed that you're going to get the film unchanged, because, there's quite a few films now that are being changed because, people feel that they have to sanitize them for today's audience. And it's like, then just leave them alone. You don't have to change anything. It's, I watched, my son had one of his friends staying over the other week, and we sat and watched Blazing Saddles. And it was absolutely hilarious, and like, I doubt there would be a TV network that would show that now. And it's such a shame because it's an hilarious movie.
It's very interesting. And I think in particular, things like the comedy channels, they must have real problems with that because, there was one that was like saying, $6.99 a month or whatever for like all the comedy you can eat. But I just thought, I wonder how much of that really struggles because it's one of those things that a particular type of joke dating be outlawed and woped out of existence very, very quickly these days.
Yeah.
So I guess presumably because it's old, they can say some viewers may find this content offensive when they're going into it. And
seeing that, yeah.
But it's kind of it is an interesting one in the way that things are. Thing is, it's like a trend. It'll come around again.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the minute you could see that being quite an interesting one. Yeah. What was I thinking the other day? Yeah, because I was saying to Gareth, there must be so many hours, days, years worth of content being created at any given point in time at the moment, and things like our good selves here, that no one is going to be able to watch everything that's produced now ever. It's just not. Even if you spent your lifetime doing it, you'd have no chance. So it's just kind of really interesting how that's then going to fall because I would expect some things to fall by the wayside just because other things would attract more viewership. So it's kind of, you do wonder whether or not Disney might, I don't know, they seem to have this momentum going that they're actually able to keep doing it. But you would think at some point people might get bored, move elsewhere. Then all this money that Disney are paying, they're just not going to have any more to pay to bring more stuff in. And it's a bit like when I remember when what did we go and see? I think it was the second Black Panther film, and my son and I came out of the cinema, and he said, "Dad," he said, "it's not the same anymore. They're bringing all these new people in. It's not the same anymore." And I couldn't disagree with him because it did fall a bit flat for me as well. And I don't think I really set out to watch another Marvel film post that. I enjoyed I enjoyed Guardians of the Galaxy 3 because that still felt like the original cast, and it was still, that still kind of made sense. But even at the end of that, things were changing clearly because obviously, these guys have been doing it for years now. So they're bound to need to swap it around. But I just wonder how long they can keep repeating what is effectively the same thing. Because when I was looking at the toys that I've been collecting over the past year or so, it's quite interesting because Transformers still going, Zoids still going, albeit mainly in Japan these days, but there's still new cartoons and stuff, still producing toys of it. Obviously, Batman still a thing. Jerry Anderson shows occasionally pop back up again, but not massively. But a lot of the stuff just keeps on going and going and going because of that old school familiarity with it. But at the same time, it starts to lose people like us because obviously it's kind of moving on, and the people who are creating it don't have the background that we have as older gentlemen, having watched it from a certain era. And a lot of these shows, they're like the Star Trek shows, they're doing their best to keep nodding the head to the original series, but they're having to go their own way because they can't really afford to be bound in that much anymore.
Well, that's the thing. I think it's going to be a case of. I think a lot of these franchises are going to maybe suffer maybe in the next 20, 30 years. Well, yeah, definitely, because the core people that like have the nostalgia for them are just not going to be here anymore, or they're going to be dropping off like flies, and I think they're going to lose popularity, because there's no mind to wealth. So I think things are going to have to start shifting on. I think this whole retro nostalgia for like 80s franchises or things like that, it's going to have to start moving on, and that's fine. That's fine. It's just the nature of the beast. Everything moves on, because if it doesn't, you've got to move with the sort of like your audience, yeah. So the 90s kids, they'll probably see a resurgence.
And Gareth's toy shop disappeared in a puff of logic.
I'm laughing because I'm thinking, well, every time Hollywood and whatever else try to move on, we all complain about it.
Yeah, because we're at that age. But as we get older, and the younger generations come up with, when they get to their spending power, when they get their disposable incomes, they then will take over. It's only because our generation at the moment is the generation with the disposable income, yeah, and we've got that nostalgia bait thing, yeah. So another 10 years, 10, 15 years, our time will be past. I mean, our time is already past anyway, really, if you think about it, because the movies that are being churned out aren't aimed at us. They're aimed at trying to target and to hook in a younger generation. Yeah.
Well, I mean, as an example of that, I finally got around to watching Ghostbusters Afterlife over the weekend, and I have to say, I quite enjoyed it, but I would describe it primarily as Stranger Things meets Goonies, because the primary characters are much younger than the primary characters were in the original film. So, like you say, Ed, it's very much aiming at old stuff at the new generation, so that hopefully they get the adults taking the kids to see it in the cinemas or buying it on the streaming service and so on. Because that is where they make their money.
I watched it a couple of weeks ago as well, and I enjoyed it.
Yes.
I was impressed at how good a film it actually was, but I was irritated by the younger cast. I was just like, shut up, what do you know?
It's very much influenced by Stranger Things.
Yeah. I was really impressed, though, how they made Egon not just a cameo, but he felt like a part of the film. I thought that was really well done.
Yeah, it was clever.
That was really well done. And I know there's going to be a lot of people out there saying, well, they shouldn't be doing that. They're disrespecting the dead and all this and that lot. But I thought it was very respectful. I thought it was handled really well.
They got permission from his family, so it don't matter who complains. The family were cool with it, so everyone else.
A lot of people seem to think that don't matter.
Yeah, well, they're idiots.
Because they've got permission from the Tolkien family to do the Rings of Power, but people are complaining about them destroying Tolkien's work. So either the family's permission helps you out, or the family's permission doesn't. You need to make your mind up on that one.
Yeah. Well, when they did the road home,
they need to make their mind up on it.
When they did the road home, JMS, the writer, basically contacted all of the living cast and said, "Look, in order to do this, I've got to, use new voice actors for those of us who are not around anymore. If anyone isn't okay with that, I'm not going to do it." Because that's generally the sort of moral stance he does. He's very sort of yes or no, right or wrong. He does it right or he doesn't do it, and no one objected, so he went on, cracked on, and did it. But it's a minefield when you're trying to do stuff like that. Star Trek have landed so lucky because they've still got all of the original Next Gen cast to use. So that's why they were able to do Picard so easily, relatively speaking. I think obviously the other franchises aren't so fortunate. So they've got to do something, I suppose, if they want to do it.
Well, I mean, talking specifically about Afterlife. I've seen it a couple of times, and it's all right. It's enjoyable to a degree, but it leaves a bit of a bitter taste in my mouth anyway. Because I can remember going to the cinema to watch the original, yeah, and I loved the original. I still do love the original. The sequel, Ghostbusters 2, it's all right. It's not as good as the first one.
No.
Now, Ghostbusters Afterlife, the bitter taste it leaves in my mouth is the fact that it should have been made 20 years before now. You know, they just left it too late. That was all down to Bill Murray. Bill Murray was the one that kind of nixed it all, you know, when he had a falling out with Harold Ramis. They fell out while they were making Groundhog Day.
Right.
And, you know, and that kind of jinxed or nixed it, that another film didn't get done. I mean, I think Dan Aykroyd had been planning another film since like the mid to late 90s. You know, he's been at it for donkey's years to try and get another one made. But so it's, and when I watch a Ghostbusters film, I want to see the Ghostbusters. You know, I don't want to see these kind of like, you know, I don't want to see Ghostbusters the next generation kind of thing. Like, you know, I want to see the Ghostbusters. You know, at least, you know, if you're going to do this torch passing kind of thing, you know, maybe start with them and then introduce your new people, you know, and bring it that way. But it's not a bad film. It's just, like I say, it's enjoyable. Yeah. It's enjoyable, but it's just has that slightly bitter aftertaste, you know, when you get to see the original gang at the end of the film. It's like, well, I wanted to see them. I want to see them in the film, you know, rather than just.
But you see, again, is the other tricky thing with that is that, I mean, if you watch, I don't know if have you seen Picard at all?
Yeah, I've watched Picard. Yeah,
but you can tell. I mean, you know, there's a lot of sitting down in that series. There's a lot of sitting down. And, you know, he's old, bless him.
He is. I
mean, you know, there's only so much these actors can do at this age, you know. So, I mean, they played the blind doing it the way they did it because, you know, it allowed him to do it without, you know, doing stupid things and without using a lot of sort of CGI doubles or any of that sort of rubbish. I mean, obviously, we'll not talk about Brent Spiner, but anyway, you know, difficult one to handle, that one, inevitably by its very nature. But anyway, but it's just
I can picture a better premise for Picard. You could still call it Picard, really, based on the premise. Episode 1 opens with everyone gathering at the funeral of Admiral Picard.
And then his offspring takes control of the Enterprise. And still Picard.
Something happens, and Riker and Troy have to take everyone aboard the Titan and go off and save the day. You know, Patrick Stewart's far too old to be playing that. Far too old to be doing what he was doing. Robot body or no robot body. Doing an android body has to keep stopping for breath. Keep holding on to things to stop him falling over. Bless him. I'm going to go through some of the chat because we've fallen.
I'm going to say catch up with the chat.
Gap was still talking about the recent Star Wars stuff. Someone had gifted him Solo. Should he bother watching that movie? If you've got it, I would say watch it. It's an inoffensive movie. It's not amazing. Probably shouldn't have been made. I don't think it should. And if it was, maybe it should have been a TV movie. But there's worse films out there. It's not bad.
I need to give him another watch, actually.
Yeah. I had to keep it quiet. He hated it. Benjamin says watch it, and so does Jumpy. Jumpy was shocked when Disney put a horror film on Barbarian. I'm not familiar with that one.
After he's watched it, could always use the DVD or Blu-ray as a coaster.
Could do.
There's always that.
Yeah, there's an upside.
I was thinking the other day, I wonder how many CDs and stuff still exist, and how could you make a building out of them or something? The sheer volume, you know.
Lobot's giving his opinions on the
I thought this was
Star Wars stuff.
Just on Lobot's comment there, I would agree that Solo is better than the sequels. Yeah. I mean, it's not saying much, but you know, Boba Fett series. I'm disappointed in that. Very disappointed. It was nice to see Boba Fett, but it was just disappointing the situations that they put him in. But yeah, Mando series 1 and 2, yeah, both good. Rogue One, yeah, I like Rogue One. I do like Rogue One. It's the best Disney Star Wars output, I think, to date.
And then Gat goes on to talk about the acquisitions by movie studios.
Well, they did. When Disney were in the process of buying Fox or courting them to buy it, it did go to the I'm sure it went to the Monopolies Commission.
It did.
And there was a ruling on it. And obviously it ruled in their favour that they could buy it.
I think there were some things they may have had to have either kept or sort of allowed to go elsewhere, or whatever. But yeah. I think it was the news channels they were particularly worried about, wasn't it? Because obviously they felt that could have more of a societal impact, perhaps, than other things.
Yeah, so there was a rumor not long back that Disney were looking at selling to Apple.
That rumor's been going around for a few years.
Yeah, Apple
it keeps rearing its head.
But it's like it won't be Disney no more.
For that, Disney's going to have to compartmentalize a hell of a lot, because although I can see Apple wanting to take over the IPs and the movie studios, I don't think they've got the slightest interest in the theme parks.
They're probably separately owned anyway, I suspect.
No, it's all under Disney.
Well, yeah, it'll be under the Disney umbrella, but what I mean is there'll be corporations that own the parks and other corporations that own the IP and stuff like that. It'll be, diverged like that. It's generally how it works. So
okay.
They're different interests.
Yeah, it's like companies within companies.
Yeah.
And you should always buy old physical media, because they are changing everything and editing everything and releasing it besides digital edits. There's one that I want them to do, and they've done it, and they've put it on Disney Plus, but I don't think it's available on disc yet. Or if it is, I haven't got it. And that's Star Wars Episode 1 with that god-awful Yoda puppet removed and replaced with CGI.
Well, yeah, I mean, and there are some
made
things.
A good point. That was almost 20 minutes ago. Oh, Krull. I haven't seen it.
But this is an interesting one, because this I actually got from HMV, because HMV had a series of sort of special feature stuff on Blu-ray, which I literally could not find anywhere else. So things like 2010, A Space Odyssey, couldn't find it anywhere to stream. But lo and behold, they'd released it on a sort of a Blu-ray exclusive in HMV for no apparent. I have no idea why not. Why particularly, but things like Silent Running and stuff like that. I don't know.
That's a recent re-release.
I'm not sure, but I'm not sure. I've never actually stopped to think and hunt it down on streaming services. Because sometimes even when you go on Amazon, they sometimes have more obscure stuff to buy, but then it says it's not available. It's quite odd. So presumably because no one's actually got a license to offer it on a streaming service,
That'll be right, yeah.
Or digitally, perhaps, full stop, So, yeah, some interesting ones like that. And The Last Starfighter is really hard to find as well. I found in the past. Okay. I don't know even now if I could find that, but I need to go through my.
It being on Netflix once, but that's a long time ago.
I've lost track.
Yeah, I remember it being on Netflix once, but that's a long, long time ago. And they control the clouds and can take anything down if they want. They certainly can.
Well, that's exactly why.
No idea what Logan's referring to here.
Possibly the number of Wolverine films there have been.
He manages to throw out some really wacky and bizarre questions. Who is the worst actor in Star Wars? There's a lot of them. There's an awful lot of them. I'd actually go as far as say Mark Hamill's got to be up there. There's a lot of bad actors in Star Wars. An awful lot. Does anyone want to pitch any?
Worst actors?
Yeah.
The problem is it's got so many good actors in it. You kind of forget.
Well, it maybe you could refine it by saying there's good actors that give bad performances.
The thing is, they can only do what they've been given to work with, can't they? That's the thing.
I mean, some people may say Hayden Christensen, but Hayden Christensen was only doing what he was working with what he was given or directed.
It seems incredibly popular when he turns up at the Star Wars things. I mean, I suppose he would be, wouldn't he? But genuinely, people do seem to actually really, really love him. So it's nice to see. I'm always kind of worried for him.
The kids who grew up with those films, they think he was fantastic.
Yeah,
and they're the ones that love to go see him. Yeah,
I'd probably just go. I'd just throw an umbrella over it and say maybe 90-95% of the actors that they've got for the current Disney Star Wars TV shows, you could probably lump in with worst actors, because it's just like some of it's just like pulling bloody teeth.
Ooh, the moped crew from Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Oh, what the hell was that about?
Yeah, we'll put mopeds on a sand planet. That'll work.
We'll make them brightly coloured and we'll make them anti-grav.
Mighty Morphin Moped Riders.
Yeah. Had they been on Coruscant, I could see that. I could see, something like
Corellia. Corellia. Same with video games. Buy physical copies, not downloads. They can block your accounts, preventing you from playing digital copies. They can. Yeah. They can indeed. Yeah, of course you haven't. Of course you haven't. Oh, well, I'm in that category now. And when you're over 40, your time has passed.
We're all doomed.
Like Ghostbusters, the woman one. I'm not sure what we're referring to there.
Oh, you know what they... Yeah, they're having...
I know the film they're referring to, but I'm not sure which part of our conversation they're referring to. What about if all the Ghostbusters are women? Surely that would make a good film. I still don't think that's as bad as everyone else makes it out to be.
I couldn't watch that much of it. I struggled with that one a little bit. Perhaps I should have given it more of a chance. But it comes back to that it's not my Ghostbusters.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it boils down to, isn't it? And it's kind of you'd rather. I think people of our generation would rather have had a reboot with some semblance of linkage to the original cast rather than what seemed to be more of a reinvention of it. It looked to me. I think I watched about 10 minutes of it, and all I had in my head was Scooby-Doo. See, it felt like Scooby-Doo Ghost of the Week. It was like I'm not on board for this. I don't get it.
I think for me, I think the actors that are in it, the actresses that are in it, and the writer director, is it Paul Feig? Is it or Paul Feig, whatever they call him? You see, dirty little secret. I say I love Bridesmaids. I could watch Bridesmaids over and over again. I think it's hilarious, yeah. And so it's the same actresses and it's the same writer, director, wherever he is, that Paul Feig guy. But Ghostbusters, none of it works for me. It's the kind of thing that if he'd have done some other kind of like supernaturally kind of thing with them, I think it would. I think it would have worked better. I think it would have been more popular, and I think people would have slated it less. Yeah, but I think because it had such a beloved name above the door, and they did what they did, it was just like people were just like, "No, go screw yourself," And I think that's probably what did it in. Plus, I mean, so it's. I think it's one of those things. I think, like I say, given a different direction of the film, I could have seen it working, but not as a Ghostbusters film. As a Ghostbusters, it just doesn't.
I think it can sort of hamstring them sometimes, can't it? Because they're forced to work in a particular set of parameters, which maybe they just don't want to or they're not used to. But the studio said, make a Ghostbusters film. And then they're just kind of stuck because they've obviously had a premise which maybe they brought to the studio, and the studio said yes, but it's got to be this. And then it's a difficult one. Oh, I'm being got out from Picard.
How dare you mention Picard? Yes, I am about 20 minutes behind. I'm trying to catch up now. I think I'm nearly caught up, actually, with this one, about 5 minutes behind. Is it bad acting or bad writing? I think bad writing. Bad writing and bad directing.
Oh, yes. Why? I didn't understand that either. If it's the character I'm thinking it is, then yeah, I didn't get that.
Yeah. Rose Tico's is she Chinese? She's the Oriental girl that was in The Last Jedi, and did she have a part in Rise of Skywalker? I can't remember.
I don't know.
Was she fixing the bombers at one point or something?
No, that's her sister that dies right at the beginning of the film.
Okay.
Yeah, she's the one who stops Finn from sacrificing himself for the greater good, and then kisses him and saying, "We won't win this war by throwing our lives away, but we'll win it by fighting for those we love," or something really, really cheesy like that. And she wore a sort of like pissy yellow jumpsuit all the way through the film. See, I should have just said that. As soon as I said pissy yellow jumpsuit, you started nodding.
Well, no. I knew who the character was.
That.
Yeah.
Even my missus said it was shite. I think that's Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
And have I seen Barbie yet?
Yeah, I haven't seen Barbie.
By putting yet in there, that kind of insinuates that you expect me to watch it.
It's made billions. It's made billions. It's one of those, everyone will have watched Barbie at some point. Ultimately, it would appear.
No.
They're shaking heads.
I have something that's called a penis, and I shall not be watching it because boys don't play with Barbies or watch Barbie.
Look, Ken's in it. Yeah, but dude, Margot Robbie's in it.
See, I don't care. If I want to watch Margot Robbie, I'll watch Wolf of Wall Street.
The one who played Reva, I've heard, is the worst actress. That's
Rose
a really badly written role. She doesn't do it any good. I've not seen her in anything else, so I can't say whether or not she's a good actress, but it's a badly written role. I don't think anyone could have done anything good with that.
But what do we want? I mean, do we want them to start being genuinely inventive? I mean, it was funny because I was thinking again. I mean, if you look at the stuff behind you, Gareth. Right? How much of that is derived from something else? How much of it was created from scratch just to be a toy? How much? Because it's that difference between if you start off when you're trying to categorize stuff. I immediately sort of went to how much of it is licensed, how much of it was produced just to be a toy line, how much of it was a cash in on something else, how much of it was generally just trying to be there to be a toy.
Oh, the Mighty Max was definitely just a toy. The Mighty Max was definitely just a toy.
Yeah.
But did they not do a Mighty Max cartoon?
They did, but I think that came after.
Yeah, it's the ordering. You see, and again, it's that kicking off of the ideas. So the idea was a toy, and then they made something off the back of the toy to help sell the toy,
like Masters of the Universe,
like many things, But it's that
Transformers.
Yeah, exactly. And in fact, Transformers is an even more interesting one because Transformers wasn't even the original toy. Because that was borrowed from somebody else. Again, it's all down to where did that original idea come from, and why do we feel that it's better to keep on recycling old stuff and not take the risk on new stuff?
Before I move on, I'm going to talk about Reva.
Who's Reva?
Because Gap hasn't seen any of it. Reva's from Obi-Wan. She's playing she's one of the Inquisitors.
Oh, okay.
We find out her backstory. She was a Jedi Padawan.
Yes,
who
I recall.
Is seemingly killed during Order 66.
She's a child that gets stabbed by a lightsaber as a child, and she survives.
She survives being stabbed by a lightsaber during Order 66.
By Anakin.
Evil Anakin.
And she
then survives getting stabbed by a lightsaber by Darth Vader.
She survives being stabbed as a child. She goes on to become an Inquisitor to try and get close to Vader so that she can kill him personally to atone for what he did at the Jedi Temple.
In the meantime, murdering people while she's doing it.
Yeah, exactly. This is the whole ridiculousness of her character. She wants to bring him to justice by killing goodness knows how many innocents and other Jedi, and allowing Vader to just kill anyone else along the path as well, so that she can get close to him. And we find this out after she's been stood at the side of him whilst holding her lightsaber.
And then we find out that Vader knew all along anyway.
Yes, Vader knew all along anyway. He does kill her, kind of. Stabs her with his lightsaber, walks away. Next episode, she gets up and goes out to try and join the good side. Yeah, that's
so whilst
not the fault of the actress, though.
Yeah, that's the thing. See, but that's the thing. It's like you can't blame that. I mean, this is what makes me laugh with certain fans.
Oh, hang on. One other thing. She's played by a black actress, and when people complained about this bad writing, it's because they were racist against a black actress. They couldn't stand seeing a person of colour, a female person of colour, in such a centre point role.
Lando?
Yeah, exactly.
Just saying.
We'll move on. Yes, should have made a fantasy film with the same cast and new IP, Hocus Pocus, and Witches of Eastwick were popular. He's talking about Ghostbusters again. Gareth, you know you're a Barbie girl, and I expect an FU response. Well, you expected it. I withhold it. I'm not a Barbie girl, though. Yes, she survived a saber twice. It is ridiculous. But I think that's what people are disliking mostly about the Star Wars stuff at the moment. The ridiculousness of it. Anyway, let's move on. We're supposed to be here to talk about toys. Has anyone had any new toys?
I did a triple whammy this evening. I managed to snipe 3 auctions.
Did you?
Successfully. Yes.
Okay. What did you outbid me on?
Probably nothing.
Go on, then.
I was just trying to fill out my my little Corgi Junior Bat Toys selection. So I've now got
a boat.
I've got my little bat boat. And I've got a little bat boat and a little bat trailer as well, actually. In fact, I'm going to end up with 2 of them, simply because I decided that one of them had to. Somebody had obviously tried to recolor one of the trailers, and I don't know if it's a legitimate thing or not. But what I'll then do, I think, is I'll probably, because one of them also came with a bat copter, I'll keep the best one and then I'll auction off the 2 unless someone else wants me to pass them on to him in exchange for something else. And I'm also now getting a Husky Batmobile and bat boat.
Okay, I realised you did a bat boat as well.
Apparently so, and I didn't even know this was a thing. I had no idea that Husky was a thing, and I don't know why. And I know they're related to Corgi because Huskies, Corgis, I don't know. But I was Husky like an American Corgi or the American name for Corgi or something. I don't know. But I just thought it might be interesting to do a video comparing and contrasting.
That was all different brands. You can normally tell because Huskies have the wheels on Huskies were they're quite unique, whereas your Corgi ones were the plastic wheels for the juniors anyway.
It'd be interesting to see when they come. I mean, thank God that was a last minute snipe, like you wouldn't believe that one as well. Because it was going up. There was quite a lot. There were like 16 people watching it, and I thought this is going to get messy. I think that was my lot. Oh, I'm also getting a bat bike. Actually, no, I haven't got this yet. But I've got my eye on a bat bike that's actually got a Batman figure on it.
Okay.
So you know that Corgi, because I've got quite a nice bat bike, but the guy who I got it from said that getting the figure for it is like, it's virtually impossible. But I have spotted one, so I'm going to try and get that later in the week. And I got a Spider-Man bike.
Okay.
was like and I wasn't looking for that, but I spotted it. And I thought it's like my bat bike. So again, from a I'm going to sort of I'll have a look at them across with each other. But it's one of those ones where it looks like quite a nice example of it. So see how they.
Of course, I'm going to put this in the. I'm going to put a link. No, I don't want that. What do I want? There he is. I'll put a link. Where's all your videos? There we are.
Oh, I've got a Visionaries Lancer cycle as well.
Okay. I'm going to put a link for anyone who's watching to have a look at one of your recent videos, which is showing off your collection, because I thought it was quite good.
Thank you.
Yes. So if you want to see Andy's collection, have a click of that link after we finished.
It was. I watched that. It was interesting because it was like a tick list, and it was. I think by the end of it, I think I ran at about 96% of the stuff that you showed I had as a kid.
Yeah.
And it was like, yep, I had that. I mean, and
I would say about 96% of it I used to sell back in my car booting days.
Of course.
Is the green Matchbox adventure kind of vehicles.
The bigger ones. Yeah. There's a few of those.
The flying car with the flip out wings and the tank thing and tracks and that. I also had those other ones that you showed where you said what they are, but it's sort of like there's the green one that's got like a flippy cockpit, and then
Exploratrons.
Yeah, I had those. So I mean, I would just like yeah.
Well, I think it'll probably ring a lot of bells with a lot of people because you said you enjoyed the Cosmic Juniors, the Corgi Juniors ones, didn't you? Cosmic Juniors, I'll say.
But I think, the other thing as well, it was a case of yeah, and then it was like, do I still have it? No.
Well, this is it. I mean, it's all come back to me. It's just funny because as soon as I spot these things, go, yeah, that's. I mean, some of them I didn't have. I mean, I could split them quite clearly between things that I did and didn't have. You see, weirdly for me, I never had any Starcom. That's one of the things I never had. I don't know why, because I thought it was I thought the figures were a bit meh because they were a bit tiny and flimsy looking. So I never got into Starcom. And yet,
feet.
Yeah. Looking back, because it was science fiction and spacey, I would have thought I would have gone for that, but for some reason I just didn't.
I only had one. I had one figure, but they were quite late. I think they were 87, 88. I think they came out.
That might be why I might be just being on the cusp at that point. Yeah, interesting, isn't it? Certain things just completely. And again, I wasn't bothered with Action Force. It just never wasn't my bag. I was very much more spacey and sort of robot-y sort of orientated. I think, as you can see from what I've gathered.
I did have some Action Force, but when it moved over to more G.I. Joe, I didn't. I only had, I think it was 5 I had.
Thanks, Gab.
I think you watched your premiere.
Yeah.
And thank you very much, Gab. Very kind of you. I agree.
Toys potential, yeah. I had Snake Eyes, Crimson Guard, Snow Serpent, Eels, and Barbecue. So those were the only G.I. Joe figures that I had. I don't have them anymore, but I've now got the classified versions of those. In fact, I got a notification today that my Snow Serpent should be arriving tomorrow.
What's that?
Snow Serpent.
No, this. Takara's Transformation Cyborg versus Walgo Alien Z.
I'm
curious.
No idea. I'm just trying to think when you were saying about what we got. Did I picked up Masterpiece Bumblebee? Did I show that the other week?
I think you might have done. Vaguely rings a bell.
And
I think you showed us two. You showed us one that was better as a robot, one that was better as the car, I think.
yeah,
Yes.
I have then. Yeah, that was that's that. Then I can't think really.
Oh,
So I also got the. Did I? Oh yeah, because I showed you the Fioravanti, the ex-Transbots, the Ferrari. I think I'll have showed you the GI Joe Cobra Officer because I think I mentioned about the pricing on that.
Yes. Yeah.
So no, so I haven't.
Very cool, Jumpy. Very cool.
I've a few pre-orders in, but obviously that's no good really for show and tell. I've got some new. I've got some new trainers. They came today.
I'm still me.
Well, speaking of footwear, we've hit the colder weather. My slippers are back on. I've been okay with socks for the last few months, but now my slippers are back on. It's cooling down.
Definitely. I
got kids going back to school next week. It's that time of year.
It's what?
It's that time of year. Kids go back to school next week. It's cooling down.
All the traffic will start coming past my house again. It's been quiet.
Yes.
Very quiet.
I just had a look. They're very, very quick. In fact, shall we show?
It'll soon be autumn.
The only other thing I got in, although I haven't actually unpackaged it because I don't want to, is
these are the things you're talking about.
A Vivid Stingray.
I think that looks pretty sweet. I would have that in my kaiju shelf quite happily. Yes, I do quite like that. I love that one. Love that one. Yeah, very nice.
Right. I've got a question for you.
For me?
I have a question for you.
They look like Mike
now.
Okay.
These are two questions that I'll be adding to the collector's archive from the new interviews going forward. So this hasn't come up.
You've done them all now.
No. Still recording.
Okay.
So this is right. So the first part is.
No, they're mine.
Will you stop? Will you ever stop collecting? You don't have to go too in depth.
I'll never stop.
You'll never stop.
No, I'll never stop. I'll keep going till I drop. I might cut down my collection to make it easier for those who take it on after me to get rid of. But no, I'll keep going till I drop. I know that.
Right, Andy.
And
that's a good question because to this point, I've been doing a lot of sort of mini collections, I would call it, because like the Batman stuff, I haven't set out to get every single Batman item ever because I'm more of a generalist than that. I dabble in the things that I see that I like, but then I don't know if I have an unending urge. But then I wouldn't. If you'd asked me a year ago, would I have had 4 Detolf cabinets full of toys? I would have said no. Don't be daft, because I was busy collecting Eagle Moss starships at that point. So I think I think post divorce I probably have reverted to my collecting ways.
Of course.
Because I have space and a lack of other pulls on spare finances. So it's I would like to keep it going because it gives me motivation to go out and go and have a look at shops like Gareth's and all that sort of good stuff. And it's just it's a hobby, isn't it? Like anything else. So I don't see it particularly changing because I keep on finding new rabbit holes to dive down that I've just never heard of before. It's like when I was finding out about the grandstand converters and all that sort of stuff. That was just okay. I've never ever come across these before. But then when you sort of dig into the history of it, I just find it really, really interesting. Like I didn't know until like a few hours back that there were Husky Batmobiles and Husky Batboats that look exactly like the Corgi ones. I was like, well, what the hell is that all about then? What's the backstory to that? It's just interesting. It's just a voyage of discovery and all that sort of good stuff. Right. So
good. No, cool. And then the next one is: do you ever feel do you ever feel do you ever feel restricted or constricted by a collection? Does your collection ever feel like a bit of an albatross around your neck? Do you feel beholden to it at all?
No.
Not really. What are you thinking of in terms of, should I have spent this much on it, or should I have spent this much time on it, or
do I have to complete it? Do I have to keep it?
Yeah, any of those.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think for me, I find it quite therapeutic. I don't think it's not a source of stress. It's a source of smiles.
Yeah, I was going to say, if anything, it's a way of relieving stress.
Yeah. Apart from when I'm trying to snipe bid on eBay at the last minute. Apart from that.
Yeah. As for trying to complete a collection, there's certain things that I would possibly get. If it says a set of 8 of something and I've got 7, I might feel a little bit beholden to get that 8th one just to complete the run. But if it was something I didn't like for whatever reason, then I wouldn't feel obliged to get it.
Yeah.
I mean, I can go to my Doctor Who stuff for that and say that I've not bought anything for myself from the Jodie Whittaker era. As far as I'm concerned, it doesn't exist. And I ended up going back and cutting it off at Classic Series.
Right.
Yeah. So the only things I do have modern series are Daleks. Because the Dalek design in the modern series is fantastic. Not the Mighty Morphin Power Daleks, but the actual Daleks. That's how you redesign something. If you're going to redesign something for a new audience that worked well in the first place, make it look like the old one, just beef it up a bit.
Are you talking about those Power Ranger Daleks they had for a little while?
No, I'm talking about the gold ones.
No, I mean the ones you don't like.
The ones I don't like are the Power Ranger Daleks, the Mighty Morphin Power Daleks.
What happened to them anyway?
New Paradigm,
The new Paradigm ones, yeah. I thought
they
were
still pop up from time to time.
Oh, do they?
Well, no, they did.
I've not seen them since Matt Smith.
They popped up in. It was one of the Capaldi episodes.
That's why I've not seen them then.
Oh, right, okay. I think, anyway. It's the one where Davros sends out a message for help from the Doctor.
Oh, yeah.
Like you do.
Yeah.
Okay. That was quite entertaining there.
Yeah, that's like Hitler sending out a message. Mr. Churchill, will you come and help me for a minute, please?
I just love the fact that they try and blow him away, and then when the dust settles, he's got a cup of tea. And he goes, like, what's really going to fry your noodles later is, where did I get the tea? Answer, just accept it. It was like, okay.
Literally, his doctor was telling us how to accept modern writing.
Yeah.
Don't ask the question, just accept it.
Just suck it up.
Don't ask how we can survive lightsaber stabs, just accept it. I'm going to answer some more questions. Yes, I'll be open on Friday. Of course I'll be open on Friday. Yes. Transformers the show agrees with us. I'm not sure what about.
Trainer sucks.
Benjamin's also coming down on Friday too. Brilliant. And we're up to date actually there. We're up to date with all the questions.
Did we want to see if anyone had any sort of questions around things that they can't quite remember what they are or anything like that? Maybe it's irrelevant.
I should have started with that at the beginning of the show. If anyone, in fact, I'll let Andy do it. It's his idea.
Well, I can't remember if I remember what the idea was now, but basically, I just wondered if anyone has any sort of obscure things that they kind of dimly remember from their childhood that they're trying to put a name to, but they can't quite remember enough detail to put it into Google to do a sensible search. Because I've had that before, where all I can remember is it was white and it had wings, and it's just like, that's not going to be enough. And eventually I've sort of spotted it on an auction and thought, yeah, that's what it was, because the visual cues obviously help. But if anyone's got anything like that they can think of that they want to have a think about putting to us, then maybe with the group hive mind can sort of help. And then I think the second part of it, wasn't it? It was around sort of, where are you best looking for stuff? What are your sources for stuff, basically? So is it, why would you go to Gareth rather than going to eBay versus a kind of, going to like a big fair or something for something? Well, you may be cosmic, but unfortunately, you don't have a TARDIS equipped store, so you do have a finite amount of stuff. So it's like, if you don't have it, and I did check before I went on my auctions today, sir. I checked on the website before I went on the auctions.
Good boy.
I'm well trained, you see. But if you just can't find it, what are your options? Is basically what I'm getting at. Because, see, for me personally, I know that if I go to Gareth, then I will get toys that have been sort of quality checked and cleaned and are what they say they are. Whereas I was horrified when I looked at my collection video on HD rather than on the phone screen.
I'm sorry, Andy. Is this chat sponsored by Cosmic Toys? Is it?
No.
Technically, yes. I'm paying for StreamYard.
But in all seriousness, I mean, when I looked at some of my stuff up close, I realised that it's actually a lot dirtier than I think it is. A lot of the stuff, because obviously when you get it from eBay, people are just shipping it out. They're not necessarily taking the care over it that someone who's a genuine specialist will. I mean, some of the stores are better than others. I would definitely say that. Some are just people who are selling stuff to clear space, make some money, whatever. I get that. Some of them are obviously doing it as an online store more so. So, kissing up.
He's on a loser. He's on a loser gap.
No, he makes me a cup of tea from time to time. He's a good lad.
In response, though, I will say, Andy, you don't have to butter me up at all. I appreciate it, but you don't have to at all. It's very.
No, I'm not trying to blow smoke up your bottom or anything. It's just
it's a funny thing because
it's a genuine discussion.
In response to what Ed said, yes, it is sponsored by Cosmic Toys because I'm Cosmic Toys and I pay £20 a month to be able to stream these. So yes.
So it's not technically an impartial Cosmic Council then, is it really? It's just an extension of Cosmic Toys. You need to change the title of it to just Cosmic Toys Livestream.
Do we actually talk about much that's got going off in the shop?
We find some way of talking about the shop every week.
I think it comes back to it, but I don't think... I wouldn't say that it's as big a part of the show as what Harold Ramis was in Afterlife. Gareth versus a big star. Gareth, any day of the week, I know you'll try and get something in for me if I wanted something, and you don't. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, it's like, what can I say? I mean, I've bought stuff from Gareth now for well over 20 years. Yeah, and I do buy stuff from him, and other things I don't buy from him. It's a strange one because I'm friends with Gareth. I don't feel like I have to buy from him every time. There's a lot of stuff that I don't buy from Gareth just because of the nature of the stuff that I collect.
Gareth really.
Yeah, very rarely Gareth gets it in. But but that part aside, me personally, I it's just wired in me, whether it's because I'm a Yorkshireman or it's because I used to work as a buyer. I tend to go where I look for where I can get it cheapest. That's what drives me when I'm buying something. I look for where I can get it cheapest. I do have stores that I am loyal to. Once I do pick a particular trader, I will go back to them and I will buy from them. I mean, I can name them. There's Gareth, there's Kapow, there's Gear for Geeks, yeah. There's Omega Lock, So I'm a firm believer in, when you find a retailer that looks after you, then, you stick with them and you help them and you support them where you can. But like I say, I think What's that? Sorry.
Very kind of you, Gaff, but it's easy to say that because of where you live. You'll never have to follow up on it, will you?
You might go on holiday.
But I appreciate the gesture there, the kindness. Thank you.
But yeah, it's one of those things, I think, as well as at the moment as well, because of the way that I think the world is financially and things like that. You know, I suppose as collectors, you know, maybe you just have to be a bit more careful as well. You know, where you buy and how much you spend, and you know what you're looking to get and things. You know, maybe that may be a factor in what, you know, which influences where people buy or where they go to for things.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I mean, part of my sort of mindset, Benjamin, I think, is that I like to buy at the smaller independent places because I think it helps keep the high street alive as much as anything else. I mean, I remember going to.
High Street is in a terrible state right now.
Yeah, well, this is it.
But
I mean,
been worse than it is now.
No, but I mean, I remember, you know, when I go to yours, you know, it's like I smiled quite to myself the other day because when I was in there, and I mean, lurking around for God knows how long, but you know, little lad came in and just picked up a pack of the Pokemon cards. Yeah. And I just thought it's just nice he's actually got somewhere that he can just do that with his parents if he wants to, you know, because that's just a childhood thing, isn't it? And if everything's online, then when, you know, don't we lose something as a society if you can't kind of just do stuff like that with your parents and you're just doing it for your phone all the time? I mean, it seems a bit sad, you know.
But it's an interesting thing how things have changed in that respect, though, because I mean, I know growing up as a kid when I was younger, if you wanted something cheap or you wanted a bargain or something of good value, you shopped locally. You know, it was considered like, oh, well, if you went into Leeds shopping, it was like, oh, that was a treat. You know, it was usually an expensive too,
yeah,
kind of thing. Where it's interesting now it's expensive to shop locally, but it's cheaper to shop out of town or online or big retail parks. You know, and that's not the fault of the retailer of doing that. It's just the current circumstances of society and the way people shop and how the dynamic has changed, which has caused that. You know, I mean, I've just recently, we used to have milk delivered. I've cancelled that, you know, because it's like, well, yeah, I want to help, but I don't want to help at the expense of my own pocket. You know, first things first, you've got to look after yourself first before you can start looking after other people, you know. And so I think, you know, that's the thing. It's a nice sentiment to think, yes, I want to support the high street and I want to, but I think financially at the moment, you have to be in a position where you're able to do that to support the high street because unfortunately, because of the way things are, the high street is more expensive than what it is to buy online or shop online, you know.
But I mean, the thing with what Gareth's doing is that, you know, you literally, it's actually very hard to find what he's doing online, you know, on a nationwide basis. And that's one of the great advantages of having a physical shop for things like this, I think, because you literally, it is harder to find elsewhere and it's harder to know whether or not anyone's selling you a knockoff or it's going to be broken when you get it or whatever, you know. I mean, God, that Zoidzilla I ended up with was like covered in like, I think the safest place for it is locked away in a relatively airtight cabinet, quite frankly, because you just don't know how things are going to turn up, you know. You know, so it's when you're dealing with sort of secondhand, you know, older stuff. I mean, you've got to remember this stuff's 40 years old and more, some of it. I mean, what sort of age range would you say you tend to deal with, Gareth? Because you don't go perhaps quite as far back as some other places do, but then not many places do, I suppose. So then you start getting more into the antiques end of the market, don't you? It's kind of
it's really hard to say. It really is a very, very wide age range, I would say. There's the younger ones that come in, they get all your Black Series, your vintage collection.
Yeah, because you do new stuff as well, of course.
Yeah,
so it's
the Power Rangers stuff, but then you get the more mature age range, which would be yourself. But then there was someone much older that came in yesterday and spent a small fortune on Action Force. He must have been in his very late 50s, I would say, possibly early 60s. I'm never brilliant at judging ages. I'm not at all. But I would have to say that. But yeah, it's a massive spectrum when it comes to ages. And I can't believe I'm the first person to get Spectrum in this week.
Someone say Spectrum? Spectrum?
I don't know where that word came from. It must have been subliminally
Spectrum?
Implanted in my mind.
Spectrum!
I think you're on the bloody spectrum.
Spectrum! I was going to talk about some Spectrum stuff tonight, but I got the impression from Gareth the other day. He was quite dismissive of it, so I thought, right, I better not do.
No, I weren't dismissive of it. I suggested that maybe it'd be a good idea for you to use your spectral horrors thing for that.
Strokey beard.
You can talk about it if you like.
No, balls to you now.
eBay and online is good for a wider selection and convenience, but interaction and a better look at items and just general enjoyment of seeing something and buying there and then, yes, you can't beat it. And Gap agrees with you. It's nice when Gap agrees. Not good at judging ages. Remember the other stream when you told me when I said, did you actually think that? Did you genuinely think that?
I just had
I would slap you if I could reach you. Love to cop a feel, but you can do that so much these days based on locality, local toy shop. Yeah. You're shutting down Spectrum Talk. I thought this was a place where you can talk freely. You can talk freely. I said you can talk about it.
Oh, but we're out of time.
I don't know if anyone realises, but Ed does actually have a second channel. And he's often jumped in on it on some of my live streams, Spectral Horus, which is dedicated to Spectrum things. And I don't think he has enough content on there at the moment. He could do with some more. And since he's on about talking about Spectrum games, I suggested, wouldn't that be a good thing to do on there? It might even be a good thing to include in this and then cut it out. Well, not cut it out, but cut that segment out and upload it to your Spectral Horus.
Yeah, the Spectral Horus thing. Yeah, I like to keep them separate. I like to the Vaults of Icon stuff and Spectral Horus stuff. I like to keep them separate.
Fair enough. We could do a special on Cosmic Town Council Vintage versus Modern Gaming and mention the Spectrum. What? Just mention it. Just say, oh, look, over there's a Spectrum.
Spectrum!
We should give him a swear jar for every time he mentions.
Every time I mention Spectrum, yes. Yeah.
It's like Benny Intit on Lego Movie. Spaceship!
Bless him. Good old Benny.
Well, I've got a couple of toys that I can show off to you because I bought on eBay a lot the other day. Well, last week. And it did arrive. I've been going back to my 90s Doctor Who collecting.
I just need to go and let my dog out.
Okay. You do that while I pull everything.
Is that what they call it these days?
Let my dog out.
Right.
He'd need more than a moment for that, wouldn't he? Surely.
I don't know. £1 Spectrum mention.
Yes. Every time you mention the Spectrum, you've got to drop £1 in the jar.
Oh, I thought it meant they'd pay me £1 to mention the Spectrum.
No. It's you that's always talking about it that needs to cut down, mister.
I'm not always talking. I hardly mention it. I hardly mention the Spectrum.
He could dog out in less than 2 minutes.
I'll tell you something that I will mention, which I'm quite tempted by, and that is the new Atari 2600 Plus.
Okay, yes. Yeah, I was My attention peaked as soon as I realised you could plug cartridges into it.
Yeah, it's compatible for the 7800 and the 2600 cartridges.
Yeah, and as you probably know, I've recently come into a lot of 2600 cartridges.
Yes, I saw the video. Yes.
Yes.
But then again, I mean, I wouldn't have spent that for them.
Well, I weren't expecting it to cost that much.
but yeah, but it is what it is. You know, there's some decent games there. Happy playing.
Well, if I ever get the chance. That's one of the reasons why I was thinking this might be a good idea. It'll work on modern tellies.
Yeah. But yeah, you just have to see if you can pick up an old CRT.
Yeah.
They come up now and again. But yeah, no, I'd seen that and I thought I was. But I've other stuff. There's other stuff coming in, and I mean, I've got I think I've got about 3 or 4 Ataris anyway. So it's just like, you know, I don't get to play on them as much as what I'd like to. I mean, it's like with the other home micro that will remain nameless at the moment. One of my favourite, well, it's my favourite game ever of all time. Manic Miner celebrates its 40th anniversary this year, and a home coder has done a 40th anniversary version of it of the game.
What does that involve then?
What? He's just made a new Manic Miner game. It's like to celebrate its 40th anniversary, and I've downloaded it. I've downloaded the tap file, and I want to play it, but I've just not had the time to play it yet. You know, it's like it's there, and I've got me setup. I mean, I've got me here, and I've got my little Philips Cube TV here, just off camera. You know, so it's there, ready to go. But I just haven't had time to, you know, because I want to dedicate a good few hours to play it. Although that said, I am finding time to play some games because usually for about half an hour before I go to bed, I've been playing Tron Evolution again.
Right. Okay. All right. Yeah.
I've just been having I've just been having a quick half hour on it before I go to bed every night.
Okay.
I love that game. It's a good game.
It's been a long time since I played any games. I've not even been playing Zelda lately.
No.
I could really do with getting back into gaming a little bit. Yeah.
Well, I've
still got to have a look at that that Amiga 500 Mini that I got for my birthday. It's still sealed.
Yeah, I'm getting that for my birthday.
Off yourself.
No, it's from kids. Kids have got me for my birthday.
You've got to be real careful with those auctions and those extra fees. Suddenly a bargain is not so much of a bargain.
This is true.
Indeed.
Yeah, I still haven't sold all the stuff that I got for my random auction adventure like 3 months back. Right. Like you, I got hammered for
those fees.
But it was a transportation. It was like, oh God, I've just bought like 2 big boxes. How do I get it from down south up to me? It didn't even occur to me because obviously on eBay everything's included.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, oh God, this is like sort of proper grown-up auctioneering. You know, it's like,
but then the whole this is classed as a trade auction and therefore is not covered with your consumer rights. No returns are accepted.
Business to business, yes.
What?
B2B, not B2C. That's why.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to show off some. I don't know if show off is the word. But yeah, I've been on a bit of a 90s Doctor Who kick again lately. Years and years ago. 91 when they brought these out, I think. Yeah, 91.
So these Dapol stuff.
There's going to be some Dapol stuff to show, yeah. But 91, which is 2 years after the TV series was cancelled, and it had become evident that it wasn't going to be coming back. Virgin Publishing took on the license to print books, and they started with the New Adventures. Now, a while ago. Probably about 20 years ago. I read this one, and it was the first book in a cycle of 4. And I could never get my hands on the second one. And I ended up selling them all off.
Carry on. I'm just going to see to... Oh, sorry, carry on. I'm just going to see to the dog.
All right, okay. And I ended up selling them all off back when I opened the shop. Anyway, over the last month or two, I've managed to get all 4 of them. So I am going... I've just started... I've lost track of them now. I've just started reading the first one again. I've done the first chapter. And I'm looking forward to actually being able to read them again. Well, not again, but read the first one again and then move on to the second, third, and fourth. And yes, Ed was right. I have been buying Dapple figures. It's one job lot, which I bought mostly because I've never had the green K9.
I saw this on a live stream just the other day. Somebody mentioned that there was a green K9 versus something else, but it's not something I know about at all.
Oh, right, really?
It's a small world, isn't it?
That's bizarre. And the reason that spawned me on to get these is there's a video that I want to make about the Dapple figures, because I want to do more than just look at what I bought this week. I want to do more videos, more interesting videos. And I thought I'm going to start off doing stuff you know. Do stuff you know. And I thought, well, I've got a decent range of Dapple toys. They're now considered vintage. I'll start with that. And I've wrote it. I've recorded all of the scenes of me talking to the camera, but I also want to do some scenes of just prattling about with the figures and displaying them. Well, not displaying them, but having them out in scenes, playing with them. And one of the things I do mention in the speech bit is some of the errors that they made, which included a 2-handed Davros and a green K9. And I was like, well, I can't mention these things and not show them. So I bought them.
As you do.
Even went as far as to buy the 2-handed Davros and then realised that I already had one.
Well, and this is often the way of it. I mean, I once bought a Thunderbird 2 just to be able to buy the Stingray that was coming with it when I already had Thunderbird 2. Because, so I've got a swarm of international rescue vehicles on another floor of the house now, which I've gathered to do the various videos on, but which, of course, my son quite enjoys. He likes Thunderbird stuff. So it's kind of a double whammy in that sense. But yeah, I do accumulate quite a lot of stuff just to do videos. So I've ended up buying. I bought a job lot of a few just to get this, because people seem to be asking 25 quid for that. I got this job lot for 35. So often a canny way to do it. Yes, to find one that's snuck in quietly and isn't advertised as such. Yeah,
it certainly seems more sensible to spend 35 quid on all of these, which includes Tom Baker, a Fourth Doctor.
Yeah.
Which, bizarrely, known for his hat and scarf, they've never made a figure of him with a hat and scarf. This is all we ever got.
Tricky to add on, of course, to a plastic figure, that, I suppose.
Yeah, possibly, yeah. There was Mel, which I really didn't need because I already have her. Now, if it had been a blue one, it would have been better because they did this one in pink and blue. And I don't have the blue one. And I already have this one, but Seventh Doctor, Sylvester McCoy, I got the variant with the gold umbrella.
Oh. Because he had a white umbrella with didn't he have a question mark umbrella normally?
That's it.
Oh, that is it. Oh, yeah.
Now, the normal one is black plastic with a red painted question mark. Bizarrely, they did one with a gold one. No idea why. And then, also, you can't buy a Doctor Who lot without a Dalek.
Of course.
And, yeah, I've got another Dalek now for my little army. They come under a lot of fire for being so damned inaccurate. And they are terrible, to be fair, but I love the charm of them. They're taller than they should be, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're taller than they should be. But I still like them.
Some Daleks are just bigger than others.
Yeah, I mean, look at the Paradigm ones. Yeah, I was just showing off my green K9.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
So, obviously, the person who was painting the Thunderbirds, the Thunderbird 2, obviously finished his shift, and then his new shift, he started painting the K9.
Well, no, this is casting yellow. Yellow? This is casting green plastic.
Right.
And yes, why does your dog always need to go out? Don't you all live together?
Oh, good God, no.
Just admit it. You're playing with them.
Playing with what? The dogs?
Dogs.
I'm getting a long range offspring nagging me to FaceTime him or something.
Oh, bless.
Yeah.
That was quick.
He knows
Right,
I'm
well, I
thinking
think
as well.
we've run a bit later than normal anyway, so do you want to wrap it up?
Ideally.
Yeah. So, as Andy was saying, if there's anything that you're trying to think of from your youth that you can't quite properly remember, but you can remember a few descriptions of, then it's worth sending it in to us. You can either put it in the chat or in the comments, or you can email any one of us. We're easy enough to find. and just, or even ring us if you want. It's 999.
Don't.
Yeah. All right. With that, good night, everyone.
Night all.
It's time for bed now. Nighty night.
Night night.
And don't forget, don't have nightmares.
Try not to. Good night, all.
Yep. See you all later.